What's up, YouTube? It's your girl, and today I'm going to be showing y'all how I'm taking this spoiler off, going from this to this. So I'm going to be changing this spoiler out from the old Scion FRS / Toyota spoiler to a Subaru BRZ spoiler, 2017 models and up, because I like those style spoilers better. Let's get started. So I got a piece of cardboard here. I'm going to take this cardboard and trace the outline of this bezel here, and I'm going to take this bezel off. There's two 10mm bolts that you have to take off, and you have to first of all pull this off. This belongs right here, and then you just pull it off. It takes a little, not much muscle, but a little muscle. And then you take off these two 10mm bolts, and then this will come right off. And it just slides right off. And then these little parts you want to keep in a safe place where you won't lose them. Now I got these two bezels on to this cardboard and just poked the bolts that goes into the bezels into the cardboard so I can trace the bezel outline on this piece of cardboard so I can get it ready for measurement on the actual car. Now once you have this traced out just the way you want it, make sure everything's measured up correctly, you want to start cutting it out. Now, as you see, I've already started cutting, so once you have those cut out and have it measured accurately, you can move on to the next step. Once you have your cardboard cutouts of your bezels all cut out, you want to put the cutouts onto your bezels. So I'm going to put these onto the bezels like so. I'm going to put these bezels back onto the spoiler, and I'm going to move on to the next step. So first, obviously, you want to pop the trunk. You have to pop the cap off and drop it, of course. Always drop it. And there's 4-star screws, and then there's two 10mm bolts that's on these screw. I don't know what to call those. But there's two 10mm bolts screwed in there, so you have to take those off too. And if you have a magnetic tool, that'd be very helpful too, because you don't want to lose these screws down in the trunk, because that would totally suck. So I'm just using my little magnetic tool right here. So I grasp onto it like this. You would think, after you removed all of the screws and bolts off the spoiler, that the spoiler would just pop off. But unfortunately, it won't pop off still. And that's because Toyota and Subaru, they put some kind of adhesive on the spoiler underneath. It's a black adhesive. You can see it through the spoiler holes. And I guess that's just an extra safety precaution. But they put that underneath the spoiler, and it's really hard to get off. So what I did is I got some Goo Gone and some fishing line, and I just removed it, and I'm going to explain how. So I took this goof off. I said Goo Gone previously, but I meant to say goof off. Took this goof off and I sprayed underneath the spoiler as much as I could, and I let that sit underneath the spoiler, you know, underneath the entirety of the spoiler. I let that sit for like 15 minutes, and then I took some of this fishing string, doubled it up like this, and I just took it underneath the spoiler, and I kind of like took it like this, like a dental floss, and eventually it will break. The fishing line will break a couple times before you reach across the spoiler. It should be able to lift off now. Could be wrong. Oh, there we go. Yes. Yay. Hallelujah. And we have some progress. Took off the spoiler. Yeah. See all that gray sticky stuff? Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That was all underneath the spoiler. Now, to remove this gray sticky stuff, so I'm using this aircraft decal and adhesive remover. I'm gonna spray this on the gray part of the trunk and let that sit for 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna come back out with a scraper and scrape the stuff off. Okay, about after 15 minutes or so, you can easily like just scoot your finger across the adhesive and it should pull off. Or you could use something like an old credit card or an old gift card or whatever, and you peel it off like that, but it seems like using my fingers a little bit quicker. So I guess I would just use my finger. But you see this adhesive is coming off very slowly, but definitely coming off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the camera, stop recording, and I'm just going to continue taking off this adhesive, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to wash, probably after I wash the trunk too. I'm going to come back and we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of installing this spoiler. I got the new spoiler, and I got the moldings on the bottoms of the brackets, as you can see. So I'm going to take this old spoiler, since there's already a hole drilled here. I'm going to take it and put it here, and then once that's on there, I'm going to push this bracket down a little bit. Take this masking tape and kind of tape down where the brackets are at, so I have an accurate representation of where I need to drill the next hole at. Because you want to measure twice and cut once. You don't want a bunch of holes in your trunk, because that will totally suck, right? If I didn't have a spoiler on here, I would drill a hole where I think it would look good at. Like, I would go ahead and, you know, mark the spoiler up, kind of mark the ends, make sure the spoiler is straight, and then I would work from there, if that makes sense. I'm horrible at explaining imaginary things, and I do apologize. Just taping down the spoiler molding that I made previously. This is all I'm doing right now, making sure that looks good on the car. Make sure it's even. See, I'm just pushing this down. Just taping this stuff down. I'm not a professional in any means at all. So I'm learning as I go. That's what I've always done. I've always just learned as I go. Pull this up so slowly. There we go. Make sure that molding stays down. Alright. I'm going to set the spoiler to the side. And once it's taped down, it should look something like this on both ends. So far, so good. Okay, so I took the brackets, bezels, whatever you want to call these. I took these off of the spoiler because underneath here, there used to be double-sided tape. So I'm going to put some more double-sided tape on there, because if I don't, it's very loose, and at highway speeds it can come loose. See how loose that is? So I'm going to use some double-sided tape and some Gorilla Glue. Some super glue, not necessarily Gorilla Glue, but I'm going to use this super glue right here, made by Gorilla Glue, and this 3M double-sided tape. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply this glue around the edges of this, make sure it's on there really, really well, and then attach this double-sided tape. And that one's done. So I'm just going to set this to the side and let it dry. So I'm going to let these dry. And while they're drying, I'm going to start drilling holes into the trunk so I can put the spoiler on. So I'm taking a 7mm drill bit and a drill. And I'm going to drill a hole in the second spoiler mounting hole. There. So now I'm taking the bezels or brackets, whatever you want to call them. So I'm taking these and I'm making sure that the holes match up, and they do, which is perfect. So now I'm going to go on to the next step of this little build process. Not build necessarily, but addition to the car. Here's the drilled hole. This is the factory drilled hole, and this is the hole I just drilled. Same on the other side. I'm going to use this 22mm hole saw, and I'm going to drill extra holes where those prongs can come out, and I can put the nuts on the prongs. And I purposely drilled a little bit into the trunk, like that right there. I purposely drilled into the trunk so I could know, exactly where I need it to go once, I'm drilling this hole saw into the underside of the trunk. And I did the same for the other side. Drilled into the underside of the trunk. And it is done. So now what I'm going to do is I'm using some gasket maker to seal around the holes, both of them, so when it rains there's no water coming into the trunk, and there's no water hitting this hole where it can cause rust. The surface is clean. I cleaned it really well with some soapy water, so I'm just going to put this gasket maker around. That's not the perfect circle, but whatever. I'm gonna let this gasket maker harden for 15 minutes, and while that's doing that, I'm gonna go get my clear fingernail polish, and I'm going to polish the inner circle of the drilled holes so it can prevent rust. I've heard somewhere that helps. I'm not sure how accurate or not that is, but I'm going to try it out. It can't hurt anything. If it rusts, it rusts. If it doesn't, it works. So 15 minutes, let that cure, and then I'm going to put some clear fingernail polish around the circle so they won't rust. So about after 15 or so minutes, the gasket maker should have hardened, and I've checked. If you couldn't tell, I got black stuff all over my hands. It has hardened, so I'm going to apply these bezels. I'm going to remove this red strip from the double-sided tape. So this is ready to go into the trunk. So just easily and carefully stick that down. Okay, that's on. Make sure that tape adheres to the trunk. And then I'm going to do the same for the other side. Carefully add this. Got this on. So my spoiler did not come with the nuts that go on the spoiler prongs, so I had to go online and order the Subaru spoiler nuts. Here's the part information. They were like $1.32, but the shipping was outrageous. And that is it. Got this whole bad boy on. So what I'm gonna do to fix these leftover spoiler holes, there's 4 of them. I don't know if my finger's on that speaker. I'm going to use some Bondo to fill those in. And yeah, and I got some touch-up paint that hasn't came in yet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and Bondo these holes in. So I did not use Bondo, as I said I was, to fill those spoiler holes in. So what I did is, because the Bondo was really old, I didn't know it, so I tried to use it. So what I did is I scraped off all of the old Bondo, and then I scraped off the old adhesive that was from the old spoiler, around the holes. I washed the car down with some body spray paint cleaner to clean off the surface, make sure everything was nice and clean. Then after I cleaned the surface of the trunk, I got some epoxy and I molded it. I mixed it with my fingers. The stuff is really smelly. It smells like cat poo. It really stinks. Then once I mixed in the epoxy, I filled in the holes with the epoxy. When it comes out, it kind of looks like a turd. Ew. And got this result. And that's how I filled in the spoiler holes. Really appreciate y'all taking the time out of your day, out of your busy lives, to watch my videos, watch me mess up stuff and fix stuff again. I really appreciate that.